Celtics go down 3. 2 shout out to the Sixers. I'm going to say some nice things about Philly and beat and whatever, but the Celtics team is so, I don't know, talented but unpredictable. Inconsistent. They get in their own way. Like, what term you want me to use here? I mean, game 1 Embiid is out, and Harden and Maxey are just feasting on the drop all day, making pull-up jumpers, getting into the paint because there's a runway. Guard defense could have been better, whatever. Then the offense is a mess in the first half of the last game. They somehow almost managed to win it, and then they vomit on themselves in, between. No timeout taken too long. Jalen with helping from the strong side and on an Embiid post-up with Harden right there. It's just, oh my God. And then this game happens, and look, credit to Philly. I think they're switching defensive. Really bothered some of the Celtic stuff, screen actions on off ball, that sort of thing. They were fighting around some screens, whatever, but like between that, Joel Embiid's rim protection. I mean, what 5 block shots and probably another however many plays with just, him being around the basket and just the intimidation that causes, spirited closeouts from them where it seemed like. Their defense was in 2 places at once. The Celtics giving them some breaks with just quick shots or just being kind of hesitant where it's like, well, we're going to walk the ball up court more than we probably should. We're going to take a little too long to get into an action. Sometimes we're going to take a 3. That's not that great. This is what you get, man. I actually want to talk about a scoreless run. They went on in the second quarter for a second because I feel like it kind of, for whatever reason, I don't know. So first thing they do is like a Derek White down screen misses a 3, then Al Horford takes. This might not even be in order at this point. But Al Horford takes a ridiculous transition 3-pointer. Jalen commits an offensive foul off-ball jail and then charges into James Harden, and then while this is happening on the other. Rondo was like Grant Williams had 2 unnecessary fouls on him. Beat Horford at a foul on him. Beat another thing to credit Philly for. I do think their spacing around Embiid post-ups was like a little interesting where they would have like one dude cut from the wingo to the opposite corner just to, I don't know, make the Celtics take into account what's happening around Embiid as opposed to being able to just throw as many potties as possible on him. So okay, cool there. But yeah, I think it was the bad habits that they can get into, sometimes on offense combined with the Sixers doing some things, with physicality switching and all that, and this is what you get. I mean, look, eventually Jason's I'm just kind of got hell-bent on getting to the basket and whether it's going to melt in or whatever. Okay, great. Another thing I wanted to actually point out is we're all over the place right now. But anyway, in the first half, they were, I think, running the drop. Someone on Twitter called it an ice. So it made me conflicted about what the hell it's actually called. But there was daylight around screens again, right with them when Rob and Horford in screens. And so that led to some Embiid pull-up jumpers that led to, especially in the first half, especially that first quarter, Maxey pull-up threes or, Harden able to similar to game 1. Get in the middle because there's a bit of a runway and, make a paint jumper over Marcus Smart or whatever. And some of that's going to be the guard defense not being good enough. I feel like it was a little better in the second half for him. But now that I say that, again, Embiid pull-up jumpers or whatever the hell, there was one Maxey 3 where Jalen and Horford, both went to Jalen coming around the screen, and so Derek White's got to help off of Max. It's Daniel House in the middle of the floor swing to Maxey. He makes that 3 was kind of like that. All right, everybody shut up in Boston because we're going to win this game, from Philly's perspective, of course. And so with this game, I found myself saying something that I would say in the lowest points of this Celtics regular season with which, hey, listen, they almost won 60 games and whatever the hell. But it was always this kind of lingering thing of, do they have enough success at the rim? And look, you want to look at the shot chart for today? I'm pretty sure they took a lot of threes, missed a lot of threes. And, some people will just say, stop shooting threes. And I always kind of viewed it more. So it was like, well, sure, there are some bad threes. But I always looked at it more, so I was like, well, are you just able to generate more stuff at the rim through, cuts and having the driving lanes? If teams are collapsing, can you at least get something else at the rim besides immediately and having to be a 3? And, when they're making it is not a conversation when they're not making it. It's like, well, it would be cool if there was another thing there, and you typically look at Rob has the perfect option. The alternatives to that stuff. Dunk or spot lobs or whatever the hell. But I guess asking Rob to carry that much of a sort of alternative for the team when the plan A is not dropping as much. Maybe it's too much to ask for out of the guy, or at least for tonight. It was, again, Philly switching and stuff they're playing hard on closeouts. I think they did a good job of if the defense is going to collapse, like someone else is going to cover for at least one shooter who was left open, if that makes sense, you know? So they did a lot of good things, and again, I don't hate three-pointers or anything. I've done this spiel with the Celtics 3-point shooting like 5 times this year. So anyway, how did they move on from this one walk into Game 6 and be able to win it in Philly? Which, by the way, this is exactly what happened with the Bucks. Not exactly because in the Bucks won Game 5 last year. It was like a crazy Drew Holiday play at the end that broke the Celtics' heart. Whereas this won the game following it was over, basically at halftime. But they did go into Milwaukee with down 3-2, and then Jason Tatum had the best game of his career, unless I'm forgetting another game. And so you can hope for that. I do think like there's something there with Tatum driving lanes, especially versus smaller defenders. You know, him setting screens if Smart, if Max is in the action, like that type of stuff is still going to be in there, of course. But also, man, I feel like crowd's going to be going nuts, and I don't know, did this make sense? Hopefully, maybe not. I can rewatch the game and then be like, oh, I got everything wrong because I was just mad. But that was my attempt to take on this one.